Welcome to the Rope Grope episode 1. So, episode 0 was the first trial run of this thing, and episode 0 was just a bunch of disorganized information blabber. Went over some stuff with materials I had on hand, but nothing organized, nothing structured. I thought it wouldn't be very helpful. So I did episode 1 last weekend, and that was great and was a good stream, and I think people who watched might have learned a lot, but unfortunately I am inept with technology, and I did not record it locally as I had wanted to. So this is the offline makeup video of the Rope Grope. So it will differ in content from the original because I don't rehearse these things. I only have a vague idea of what I want to talk about. So let's dive right in at the beginning. This is the Rope Grope. It's nothing like knots or anything. It's just whatever happens to deal with rope. So I can feel free to talk about things like how to start using rope. What is rope? What do you do with rope? How do you prepare to work rope magics and spells and things? So that's what I'm going to go over today. Let's begin caring for our rope. But of course, we must first answer the question, what is rope? I don't have a complete answer for you. Obviously, rope is some sort of thing. It's usually fibrous weave, cylindrical, flexible, that allows you to tie stuff together, bind things together, used for many, many different things. So this is a rope. What is this? This is a cotton, woven cotton exterior. I don't know how well you can see the weave on this. The core, many ropes have a core and an outside shell. So the shell will be woven of these fibers and the core will be usually some sort of synthetic, even if the external, so this is cotton on the outside and natural material, and inside is a synthetic, probably polyester piece of garbage. Gives it strength, even though cotton by itself isn't very strong. Cotton is good for handling. It's very easy on the fingers. I like it for tying knots in. And they called this clothesline because you string it out like clothesline, and the cotton wicks away moisture. So that's good for that. Right. So that's one kind of rope. There are other natural ropes out there. There's this stuff, which is by far the most common natural material that you can get besides cotton. Cotton is very not very durable, but this is manila. And manila you can tell because it is a dark color, a dark brown color. There are other types. Sisal, S-I-S-A-L, is another kind, and it is a lighter tan color, and it is garbage, and you don't want to work with it. If you're going to work with a natural rope, this is probably your best bet. Sisal is technically cheaper, I think. So usually you get it in the twists. We saw the cotton was braided on the outside. This is 3 strands, each made of individual strands that are very, very, very small and twisted together, and then these are twisted together in a usually 3-strand weave. Sometimes you'll get a 4-strand, and I've seen up to 8 strands twisted together or braided together to form a rope. So yes, rope is referred to by its material, its diameter. This is probably 1/4 inch manila. I don't actually have the packaging for this anymore. I got a small coil of it, maybe 50 feet or so. So you'll get a coil of the material and the weave and the diameter. So that would be 50 feet of 1/4 inch manila. And this probably came in a 25 or 30 foot 1/4 inch cotton polyester clothesline. Then there's other kinds. Nylon is a very, very popular material to make rope out of. This is something called paracord. People like to use it for knots a lot. It's very, very popular. It's very thin and terrible for demonstration purposes, so I'm not going to be using it too much. But I did think that I could do some of the more elaborate projects on something this size with a smaller cord, so that's what I'll do later on, probably. Some of those paracord projects, see if we can't just dig into that. Again, you'll notice the outside is a shell, a weave shell, and the inside is more nylon, and this is just white little bits like this. This is the core. So again, same sort of strategy. Now the thing about these synthetic ropes is that they the core and the outside are not connected, so you get this problem where the thing can pull out of the center. So you have to be very careful with how you treat your ropes. I'm going to be going over methods to seal or finish off the ends of a rope so you can work with it without hurting it. I have another kind of rope here. It's this is an outdoor work rope. I thought it would be good for demonstration purposes of basic knots. This stuff is called, well, some people call it boat rope. It's the outside is polypropylene, which is a material, again, a great, just good solid rope. You can find, I don't know how actually, this has a core as well, you can see, but it's fused, and we'll go over fusing. But I don't know what the core in this is actually made out of. I know the outside is polypro. You can get polypro woven in 3 strands, just like the natural manila that we had. Fine, great. Polypro has 2 characteristics. It's lightweight, and it stretches, and it actually floats on water, I believe. So that's why they call it boat rope. Good for rescue, because you can tie a knot in it and throw it to somebody, and it won't sink. So obviously synthetic ropes tend to be the strongest, and the natural ropes tend to be much weaker. Natural ropes, of course, being natural, tend to break down if they're outside of the elements. So this rope, this is, again, manila, would probably not be suited to outdoor stuff, except ironically, it's used outdoors a lot because it's natural looking and rustic and stuff. It shrinks and tightens up under moisture. If you tie a knot with this and try and get it out when it's wet, good luck. You probably have better off just cutting the knot off. It also breaks down, has a lower load limit. I have one last type of rope with me. I have another cotton rope variety underneath my giant coil of polypro. Here is my giant spindle of cotton rope, which you can get from Amazon or other places. This is 3/4 inch cotton, they call it, twisted cotton blend, 3/4 inch, 100 feet, and it's good for decorative stuff. Cotton is white, so it will attract dirt like no one's business, and it will break down if you leave it outside, but it is very soft, and it looks good. So those are the ropes that I have on hand. I should note that paracord became something of a fad on YouTube. I'm not sure why. And as a result, there are a bunch of books and videos about how to do crazy knots with paracord. And if you go on Amazon, you can find vendors that will sell you like 100 different colors or sheath patterns and stuff of this stuff. So that's cool. So that's just a little introduction to the types of rope, at least the ones that I have on hand. Another, I guess, basic thing is twine. This is terrible twine. This is jute, Jute. It's garbage, basically. I hate it, and I bought it, but it was cheap. It was like, I don't know how much, 890 feet of jute. It's very soft. I'm used to a different kind of twine. Usually, I'm not sure what kind of twine that is. The string that you get brown paper packages tied up in, so goes the story. That sort of harder, more fibrous stuff is what I'm used to. This is jute. Biodegradable, soft, natural twine, natural color blends, holds knots securely, and economical. Very economical. I bought the cheapest stuff they had, and it looks like it would fall apart if I pulled it too hard. But we're going to be using it for demonstration purposes, and it's good enough. So let's get on to what do we do with rope. I'm going to talk to you about the 3 things that we do to rope typically. So, well, the number of things you can do to the ends of rope to make them workable. First, I'm going to go over the tool I'll be using, which is this knife. It's a knife that has a couple of different things on it. First is this, the knife part of the knife, and I have this like cutting board thing here. It's got a flat edge. It's not serrated. It's, imagine if you try to cut, especially a you try and cut one of these natural ropes with a serrated knife. It might work, but it'll probably tear up the cut and make it very difficult. So this serrated blade is no bueno. You're better off with just a very sharp, straight edge. So we're going to do that. And you take your rope and you put it on your flat surface here, and you just sort of saw, and be careful not to like murder your fingers. And there you go, nice straight cut. So the first thing, I guess, because I have this little piece of paracord here, I guess I could talk about fusing. I have a lighter, I have a natural material here, nylon. Fusing is when you melt the ends with fire. And careful not to do that directly under my webcam, I guess, but you just sort of threaten the ends with it, and technically, that's all you need to do. The end is now fused to itself, and that center core will not come out because it's fused to the outside. The downside of the fusing technique is, I don't know if you can see this very well, but there's a lip. There's a lip on the end of this now. It mushrooms out. So it's not as, there you go, you hear that sound? It's not flush. So if you try and pull this through knots, it can get snagged. It's very annoying. So my technique that I like to use is more dangerous and stuff, but it's not actually that dangerous. You take the, it involves touching molten nylon, but whatever. Take it and you threaten it sort of boldly, and then before it stops being melted, you draw up on it with your fingers very fast. And that will get rid of the sharp, sticky edges for the most part. Leave it fused, and it won't have that lip. It'll have much less of a lip, at least. Good for good tip there. Obviously, the bigger the nylon or bigger the rope is, the more difficult it is to do this. Works well for these smaller ropes. Even 1/4 inch, probably this size. If I could fuse this, it would be fine to do the same thing. But anything bigger than that, like fusing this stuff here, would be a terrible idea because you'd have to get your whole hand there and do this. I don't even know if that would be a good idea. So fusing is fine for this small stuff, but in the vast majority of cases, I prefer to use tape. Tape is the second way. It's quick and it's easy, and you don't have to think about it, and it just works so well. My favorite kind of tape is this. It's gaffer's tape. It's like a mixture of duct tape and electrical tape. It's made of a fabric material. It's it'll last for basically ever. I got this roll for $30 or so, and it will last me my entire life. They use it in stages to like mark the floors, I think, and that's why it's called gaffer's tape. It tears extremely easily, unlike electrical tape, which is this plasticky crap which like doesn't tear. It just sort of stretches out, and you have to cut it with a thing. I don't have to cut this. It's like duct tape like that. You just tear it off. Duct tape has its own. You could use duct tape too. I don't really like it so much. But anyway, the technique that you use is you take your rope, and I'm just going to use this for demonstration purposes. Note that this tape is quite wide. It's about 2 inches wide. We're going to take the tape, we're going to roll it around our rope. And I probably should have torn this off before, but no matter, it tears off so easily. doesn't hurt anything. Sort of firm it up there. And then you take your rope knife or scissors. Scissors are excellent, by the way, if you want to use scissors instead of a knife. And you sort of saw it, and there you go. Now you have a perfectly finished end here that's perfectly flush. No lip. You won't get that lip on a nylon rope. It's great for that. And you have sealed both ends successfully. Ta-da! All right. So that's the tape method. Couldn't be simpler. Highly recommend it. The last method, last basic method anyway, before we start actually tying rope together, is the whipping method. I guess we are going to tie rope together. So whipping is... where's the end of this nasty business? There we go. Whipping is tying a smaller rope around a larger rope. I have in my one hand the polypropylene inner core stuff, I don't know, boat rope. And on the other hand, I have this jute twine. The ratio is such that you can wrap it around comfortably and all that business, and wrap it like this. This is the essence of whipping, you just doing this. There are many different ways to do whippings. I'm going to show you probably the most basic one. If you're having, if you have a thinner rope than this, you could use thread instead of twine. For thicker ropes, twine. You could use thread on thicker ropes, but especially the really thick stuff. Where's that damn monkey's fist? Just a moment. Oh dear, I've gone and made an accident. Here is some big ass rope. It's like 1 3/4 inches or so. And you could not whip this with thread. I dare you. You could probably whip it with something like this. I've whipped it with this sort of braided nylon cord. And this is a special whipping. It's a 3-strand whipping. It goes inside the rope here, ties it off. This is essentially never ever going to come out ever in a million years. This is some big ass rope. I wonder what it's attached to. Maybe a gigantic monkey's fist that I tied many years ago. It's got a rock in it the size of a human head. No, not an actual human head, just, a rock. You're a rock. Ugh. And one day it will break down and die because it is made of natural fibers. Oh dear, here's the other thing about natural fibers, especially indoors. All this crap it drops behind, it's no good for tying knots indoors. It's fine for learning outdoors, but the other thing is, these fibers that come out actually can be sharp and give you splinters. It's harder on your hand. You'll get like tears and calluses and blisters if you work on it too long. No, it's natural fibers and synthetics, so much better. So much less wear and tear for tying knots. Okay, rant over. But the point is, smaller rope goes around the bigger one. So let's do this. Let's whip it good. Like I said, the essence of whipping is tying the smaller rope around the bigger rope so it doesn't fray. If this wasn't fused, which makes this whole thing redundant, it would be, useful to have this whipped, but I don't want to unfuse it. So this is just for demonstration purposes. Now what we're going to do is take our smaller bit and make a bite. A bite is when the rope makes a loop thing, but it doesn't cross over. That's a loop. This is a loop. It's crossed. And this is a bite. It's a bend, I guess, in the rope. We're going to take it and we're going to lay it alongside our rope like this with it's hanging off the top, just to make sure that absolutely we have lots of extra play. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this is our working end. We're going to start wrapping it around very tightly. It's very easy after the first wrap. You just very tightly wrapping it around the rope like this. All right. About there, it's enough wraps. Notice we also have this tail hanging off. I forgot to mention this is very important. You must leave a grabbable tail because we're going to grab it later on and pull it. Now we're going to take this, and I already have this knife open, and it's just this stupid twine, so who cares? And it's a lot harder than it should be, but there you go. Now we take this little end that we just made and tuck it into our loop like this, our bite, whatever. The hole, put it in the hole. Grab this end down here and tug, and it should drag it down. And what you want to do, you don't stop when it's done here. You pull it harder until that end gets drawn underneath the whipping. Like that. And that is whipping, and that is, I forget what it's called, but it's the most basic kind. It goes under there, and then you cut these bits off, and then you're left with a perfectly serviceable piece of rope. You can start working with that, and it's good. It's great. It's fine for all sorts of business. The tighter you make it, the less you have to worry about it coming off. Now, what are some downsides of whipping? Well, first of all, it takes a while, and like, why do this when you can use tape, I guess? Well, I guess if you don't have tape on hand, you could do this, but what if you don't have twine or thread? Again, why? The other thing is, you have to do this very close to the end. I probably left too much here on the end. If this was not fused, this would fray out, and it would make this big old mushroom. It'll expand. You won't even believe. You saw on the larger rope just how much extra fluffy crap was blowing out the top there. When it unraveled, it looked like the haircut of a JoJo's, and yeah, that's no bueno. So you really have to get this as close to the top as possible. But if you get it too close to the top, then this stuff will start sliding off the top of the knot over the end of the rope, and then it'll just sort of come undone, and that's no good either. So sort of a difficult thing to get perfectly right. If you're okay with a little, top fluff, then that's fine. Yeah. Other than that, not too many downsides of whipping. So there you go. That's how you whip rope. Same principles apply to almost any rope size. So those are the easiest ways to end a rope. We're going to talk about now is the hardest way to do it, but probably also the most permanent. And here it is. This is what they call a splice. Specifically, it's a back splice. A splice is when you take rope and you weave it into other rope, into itself, using its constituent strands. So it's difficult to see the pattern here, I guess, but you'll see it when we start to work with it. If I spread it apart a little bit, you can sort of see how it's sort of going over and under and over and under and weaving into itself. This is useful for ending a rope. Full stop. And that's what we're going to do today. Learn to splice. We're going to do 3 splices, and hopefully that will reinforce the process, because each of these 3 splices is done exactly the same, just in a different configuration. So I'm going to take a length of my manila rope here, because it's the only 3-strand rope I have that's good to work with. The other cotton stuff is not good to splice with. It will just sort of immediately fall apart. You'll have to tape it up, and it's more trouble to work with than it's worth for demonstration purposes. All right, we cut our end here. Now I'm not going to tape it because I need that end loose and free, because we're going to use it. We're going to unravel it, and we're going to start splicing with it. So, the very first thing we're going to do is unravel our rope very, very carefully. You take the ends and you unravel them 3 or 4 turns. 2, 3, 4. Because we're going to do 3 sets of tucks. And you have a little extra to work with, that's good. So undo it 4 times, and you're left with these 3 strands. Don't play with the ends. The whole thing, if it unravels, it becomes difficult to work with, and it actually makes a thicker, more awful splice. So be very, very careful about how you unravel it. Go with the weave when you undo it. And leave it, if it wants to stay curled up like this, don't argue with it. Now, to start our back splice, which is the thing that you just saw, you're going to take it, you're going to pinch where those strands start unraveling, and you're going to pinch it here with your fist, and you're going to lay your thumb in the middle of the 3 strands, like this, so that they splay outward in all directions. And we are going to tie a knot. This is the only, this is actually the only one that has a knot to start it out with. The rest of them don't do this. Holding it like this, the first step in the knot, this is called a wall knot, W-A-L-L, by the way. You take one of the strands, it doesn't matter which one, and we're going to start tying it in this case, counterclockwise. And I'll explain that in a second, but go counterclockwise over this strand next to it. Tuck it under your thumb like that. Now take the strand that you just hit and go over both the little end of the strand you tucked and the next one, its neighbor. So do that. You can tuck that one also with your thumb and take the last strand and go into this loop that you left open. And that is the knot. Now, tying a knot and tightening a knot are equally important things a lot of the time. To tighten this one, you keep it pinched here, like this, and you pick a strand, doesn't matter which, and you just sort of pull it down, like that, and pinch it, and then you go and you pull another strand down, and you pull another strand down, and you just keep doing this until it's sufficiently tightened. That's how you tighten this knot. Every knot is different. And there you go. Now, why did we go counterclockwise when we were doing it? Well, that's because the rope is twisted counterclockwise. This particular rope is twisted counterclockwise. Many, many ropes are twisted counterclockwise. But you must be very, very careful that you don't get tripped up by some random piece of rope out there that is twisted in the other direction for some reason, because they do exist. And then you'll be stuck with a knot that's wrong. I don't even know what happens if you try and do it the other way. It won't look as nice. But anyway, why do we do that? Well, it's because once you've tied the knot, the ends naturally sort of lie down against the end of the rope. They sort of go down, and that's what we need. Now, we tied that knot counterclockwise, but we're going to start to tuck against the grain. So we're going to be taking these strands, each 3 of them, and wrapping them around like this. All right, it's going to be woven like this. Each strand is going to be woven in with its other friends like this. All right, but they're going to be tucked inside. So let's begin. Pick one of the strands. And the mantra is over, under. Okay? So take the strand, lay it across the rope so that you see which strands it crosses. It crosses this one here, the one that actually starts to tie the wall knot, and it crosses over this next one here. So we're going to go over this one and under this next one. And what you do is you grab both ends firmly here, and you twist, and the rope comes apart. And then you get a finger underneath the strand that you want to tuck. Take your strand that you're tucking, give it a twist in the direction that it twists to make it tight, pinch it with thumb and forefinger, and then pull it through like that. That is by far the easiest way to splice this stuff. It also preserves the end. If you were to thread the end, you'd be more likely to start to fray this out, which would make it more difficult to work with. So now we've done that bit. We've done one strand. Now we're going to do the other 2. You must do all 3 strands in a single level before you move on to the next level. So we're going to take this strand, lay it over the rope. And we see that it crosses once again this strand, which starts the wall knot, and this one. So we're going to unravel, get my finger under there, twist, pinch, and push it through. Make sure that you guys can see that on the camera. And get a little closer for the last one here. So the last one can be a bit trickier. The last one is sort of hidden by the other two strands now, but don't fear. Just lay it down between this one and this one here, and you'll see it goes over this strand and also over this one, which is like almost hidden. It always looks like this, always. So just find the almost hidden one, and that's the one that you want. So once again, spread them. Put your finger in there, twist this strand here, and push through with your thumb. And there you go. We've completed a single set. One level of the splice is complete, and you sort of see how it's working out. Like that. We're going to just do this 2 more times, 2 more levels down the rope. 2 more sets of tucks. So, take the rope, take a strand. It doesn't matter which one you start with on a fresh level. Lay it down, see which ones it crosses. It crosses these 2 here. So we're going to go over this one and under this one by twisting apart, getting your finger in there, twist, pinch, and push. And over to the next one, and this one goes over this strand and then under this one. So we're going to twist it up, and then twist, pinch, and push. Now, some common mistakes that people make when they're doing this. They will try to tuck the same strand twice in a row instead of going back to their other one, which is lagging behind, so that's no good. They will skip a strand, or they'll tuck under the wrong one. So they'll tuck under 2 from now, they'll skip 2 and go under the third one, or they'll go under the one right next to it. Those are all things that can go wrong with this. So, but once again, last strand, it goes over these 2. It's hard to see that this is a separate strand, but it is. So we're going to go under this one. Open up, put it in. Let's begin. And after every level, I like to sort of arrange the strands to make sure that everything looks fine. Just a quick double check and make sure I didn't miss tuck anywhere. Oh, it's looking good. Let's do the last level here. So this one and this one, it goes underneath the second one here. Right. And then we go to the next strand. It goes over here and under this one. So here we go. Pick it up. Pinch and push. It's good that we're getting towards the end here because these ends are starting to fray out a little bit, but we're almost done. So it's all good. And we go over this one, under this one here. And if you unraveled 3 twists of this rope to do a 3 twist splice, you might be running quite low on strand here, which is why you do 1 more twist than you're actually going to splice. And that is it. That is a back splice or an end splice. And we're not quite finished yet. Obviously, we have to trim off these little bits, which I'm not going to quite do. But one important step with these splices, all of them that we're going to learn, is that you put them on a surface and you roll them out. So you start at one end and you just sort of roll down towards the edges. Like that. And this just makes the strands lie down along the thing better and gets everything settled. So that's you just roll it out and then you have this nice little splice. Very, very cool. You trim the edges off. You can also whip the end here. You can do that too. You can whip the end of the splice to make it even more permanent. But Now that we've got this splice done, let's talk about it a little bit. Advantages of the splice. Well, clearly it's not coming out anytime soon. It is extremely permanent. It's very strong. Required some work. It's a disadvantage. It looks nice. That's an advantage. Maybe, I guess. Disadvantage. It doubles the diameter of the rope because you had to tuck an entire rope's worth of strands down into itself. So you're doubling the width. So this is now 1/2 inch. That can't be right. I forget. Anyway, double the diameter of what this was before. 1/2 inch, I guess. I don't know. Seems like a lot. No, that seems right. 1/2 inch rope. So just bear that in mind if you have to thread this through a like a pulley or something. Those typically have a diameter, a limit, and if you splice a rope that's going to go through a pulley, well, you better be careful. There are ways to mitigate that, but we'll not be talking about them because that would take too long. All right, so now talked about finishing off the end of a rope with a splice. But in order to repeat the action and get it drilled into your skulls, we're going to do some more splicing. We're going to be creating on this rope what is called a foxtail, which is 3 splices done purely to show off that you can do splicing. The next splice we're going to do is called a short splice. It is used to join ropes together with the power of splice. And I need a new mat. This thing is quite literally falling apart. I'm going to cut this rope without tape because I need those ends. My rope knife. Get out of there. Yeah, just... I had a pair of like scissors, big tough scissors that I use for this stuff a lot, and I can't think of where they went. I'll talk about the other attachments on this knife later. They're very cool, but have limited use, especially for what we're doing today. Now the back splice is essentially 2 splices in one. It's double this splice. It's the same exact procedure that you do for a back splice, but you do it into another rope. So now we've cut this rope, we're going to put it back together like fucking magic. I unwind it again, 4 twists or so. 2, 3, 4. My God, it doesn't want to separate. A little bit. This is terrible. Look at this crap. Look at that crap. All right. Same thing on the other side here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, we have this inconsistent quality because it's a natural rope. You never know what you're going to get. You could get an ill-behaved little thing like that. Gross. Just sort of getting all up in our mess, making it terrible to work with. 2 frayed ends. Now we're going to combine them together by interleaving their strands. So we're going to take them and we're going to put them together like that. So every strand is between a strand on the opposing rope, and you're just going to push them together until they're snug like this. Okay, so do that again. You just sort of, if you want, you can splay them out like this again with your thumb. Take the other end, make sure that they're also kind of splayed out with your thumb, and then lay them like this so that they are between each other and snug. Okay. So that's the start of our splice. And to make things easier, and I suggest you do this as well, we're going to use the good old tape method, which is you take some and very loosely just sort of secure the strands, because we're going to do first one side and then the other. So we're going to secure the side that I'm not touching yet. So just a quick wrap here with some tape. Might have been too close, but it's very loose. Don't care. No, this is fine. It's kind of get a bit close. Nah, screw it. Try that again. Okay. So, let's splice. We have these 3 strands splayed out like this, and we're going to begin. Just pick any of them. This one here. It goes next to this strand here, so that's, if we go again against the direction of weave of the rope, against the twist. So we're going to go over this first strand and under this second one here. So we're going to pinch and twist it open. Get your finger in there. Pinch and push. And then the second one, we're going to go over this one, under this one. We got a gnarly length of rope here, didn't we? I mean that quite literally. This is very gnarly. Okay, and then we go over this strand and under this one here. All right, and that is the first set of tucks. It's difficult to see what's going on, I understand, but bear with me. If you practice this, you'll see exactly what's going on yourself. I'm just going to start doing this a little faster because the process is the same. 1 under here. 2. And this one. 3, and then we get it all tightened up and making sure that everything looks good. Everything does look good, so let's do the last set. I believe that's the last set that we'll do. So it goes over here under this one. This one goes over and under here. Twist, pinch, push. And finally, this last gnarly one, it goes between the 2 strands. Don't tuck under this one. Please don't tuck under these other strands that you're also tucking. That's another mistake that you can do, and that's not good. Tuck. Okay, so that is 3 tucks, and we're done with that side. I'm doing this because I'm right-handed. So, get rid of this tape, my goodness. Go away. And we're going to do literally the exact same thing on the other side, only this time it's easier because these are all fastened securely. You don't have to worry about them. We're going to take our thing as a frame of reference. You got this strand we're going to start with. It goes over this strand and under this one here. So we're going to pinch it apart. Twist, pinch, and push. This one goes here. This is very therapeutic to do if you're watching a movie. It's like knitting for people who like to not do knitting. It's repetitive, it's easy. I think knitting takes longer, and that's why people do it, though. You also don't have to look at what you're doing if you have done this enough times. Get rid of all this little crap. And no, I don't think that using rope like this will help you in video games. It may help you in real life, and it's, not something that's often beneficial, real life stuff. Because some people, go outside and have to do things like go to the furniture store and buy a mattress and tie the mattress down to the roof or something. So if you're into that sort of thing, I don't know if that's 2 or 3. I think that's 2 twists. So I'm going to do one more here. Never hurts to do an extra one, especially if you have the length. There we get our finger under there. Twist, pinch, and push. So if you do have furniture that you need to tie to a roof, you can quite easily do that if you have rope know-how and intuition under your belt. And that's it. That's a short splice. It doesn't look all that short, but I guarantee you, compared to the long splice, which is an actual thing, this is quite short. And once again, we're going to take... You might wonder why these are longer. It's because I unraveled them unevenly, I think. And if I skipped the thing, it's okay. I would just do it another extra tuck. But this is demonstration. We have to move on. So once again, we're going to take our rope. We're going to roll it out like doing some heavy-duty bread or pie crust, maybe. What I like to do, especially with crappy natural rope like this, is put it on the ground and use my boot or shoe to do this. Works much better. And there's our short splice. It's not coming out anytime soon. And once again, it doubles the diameter of the rope, blah, blah, blah. You can cut these off, whip the ends, make very permanent. But that is a short splice. Cool, cool, cool. Now we're going to do an eye splice. An eye splice makes a loop in the end of a rope. Permanent loop. And how big that loop is up to you. We're going to figure we have to, about that much. I have an extra bit here, so I'm going to cut that off. Okay, don't need that anymore. Okay, and we're going to untangle the end here, untwist it the same way we've been doing. Just a number of times. Okay, this one's kind of tricky to start, I'll admit. This is what you do. You make your loop and you lay the end alongside the rope. And it might be useful for you to tape this together. I'm not going to, but I kind of encourage you to do that. Now, what we got to do is tuck these 3 ends in to this rope at the same level of twistedness. Otherwise, this won't work. So we're going to splay the strands out a little bit so that they have they lay side by side like this, and lay it against the rope, and get them going around the rope sort of evenly. And then it works just like a short splice, but you have to do that first tuck, and that's the hard part. So we're going to go down to where these things start to come out. I think they unraveled an extra bit here, no problem. I'm going to choose a strand. The first one is arbitrary. The other 2 must follow it. So bear with me here. I'm going to choose this strand right here as my starting point. And I'm going to take the middle strand and I'm going to twist, pinch, and push into that. Okay, so that's the starting point. The next one, I'm going to turn it, is going to be the strand right next to it, like this. So you can sort of see, I guess, we go under this strand that we just tucked and under the one that lies right next to it. So with this one. All right, 2 down, 1 to go. Pick the third strand that you haven't tucked under yet, which would be this one here. And this last strand is going to be kind of tricky. You're going to have to go with it, and then you're going to have to double back a little bit. It's going to feel strange, but trust me, it's all good. Just go with it. And that is the start of a beautiful splice. And now we do the same thing that we've been doing all this time. Under, over under. So pick a strand here and figure out which one it goes. It goes under this one. Twist, pinch, tuck. Moving around, we go twist, pinch, tuck. And lastly, the annoying third one goes under the one that we haven't tucked yet at this level, which is going to be this big one that's sort of sitting out there. So twist, pinch, tuck. And we got this gnarly guy here. They get gnarly. These natural ropes get kind of gnarly. All right, back again. So we've done 2 tucks. You can do 3 or 4 with these eye splices because the first set of tucks, not necessarily correct. Doesn't necessarily count if you don't want it to. Twist, pinch, and tuck. Goes over here under this one. Twist, pinch, tuck. The last one goes over this strand and under that one. Twist, pinch, tuck. Now remember that the rope twists both ways. You don't have to keep twisting and twisting and twisting. You can twist back around too. And finally, the last set of tucks I'm going to do is so over this strand and under this one here. So, twist, pinch, tuck. This strand here. Over, under. Twist, pinch, tuck. And finally, over this strand and under this big old nasty guy here. Twist, pinch, tuck. And that is an eye splice. An eye splice, a short splice, and a back splice all on the same rope. This is a very twisty rope, so it's got opinions about how it wants to go, but if you put something in here, it'll change its mind right quick. And again, we're going to take it and roll it out a little bit here. There we go, just getting all nice and looking. And that is a foxtail. That is the 3 splices in a single rope. Totally useless except for demonstration purposes, and you prove that you know how to splice things, but it's good practice. It's good practice. Again, back splice starts with the wall knot, all right? Couldn't be easier to tie that thing. Then there's the back splice, which is like 3 twists worth, and then there's the short splice, which is 6 twists worth, joining in the middle. And if you do it right, you can't tell where it starts and the other one ends because they're doing the same thing each side. And then you have the eye splice, which sort of arbitrarily inserts itself here somewhere along the rope and twists itself up until you're at the top. This one looks a little gnarly because some of these strands got quite thick and gross. But we don't really have control over that because it is natural rope, natural manila, and that is what you do with natural manila rope. So that is splicing. That is how you prepare rope semi-permanently. We went over splicing. We went over whipping, where you whip the end there with some more, with some smaller rope or thread. Do thread as well. And we went over fusing, where you use fire to burn or melt the end here. And my favorite is tape, which we discussed, is you wrap the tape around the rope and then cut the tape in half, and you have two perfectly finished ends. And it's gaffer's tape that I prefer. Some people prefer duct tape. Maybe you would prefer electrical tape, which this is. This is actually the original end of the coil of rope that I bought. It came finished with electrical tape right out of the gate there. So somebody out there loves electrical, probably because it's super cheap. And that is it for finishing ropes. I promised I would go over the attachments on my rope knife here. So this is the straight edge. Straight edge, very important for cutting rope. It also has this wicked looking thing, which is a marlin spike. Marlin spike used for getting in there and getting strands apart or separating knots or stuff. You can easily get your marlin spike in there and separate out the ropes. It's good leverage. Good for getting knots out of ropes. It's very good for tough or stuck stuff. You can imagine going in here and levering up one of the strands here and pulling it out that way. Another thing on this knife is this loop here. Taken together, this is a marlin spike. Typically they are not curved like this, but this one is, I guess because it's on a knife. But they're usually these straight pieces of metal, you have the loop on one end and the spike on the other. This one you're supposed to be able to put through a knot and then put the rope in and pull it out, I think. Never actually used it before because it seems unwieldy. It's too, at least on this knife, the metal is too thick and it's too wide. Very disruptive to the knot. I also think maybe that this bit here is an attachment for like separating strands or something. I never bothered to use it either. I use this and I use the knife attachment a lot. You can buy similar knives to this on Amazon for like $25. So that is my rope knife. I'm going to be using a reference book throughout the Grope series. So I do intend this to be a series eventually. I went over this in episode 0, but I want to reiterate the value of this book. It's probably the last book on knots you'll ever need. And it's the Ashley Book of Knots by Clifford Ashley. Published in the 40s, I believe. Every knot that he could find. He traveled all over the world, talked to all sorts of people who use rope and knots and stuff, and discusses them in this book. 7,000 drawings, 3,900 knots. He illustrated all of these himself. This entire book, the format is a single column here. Every knot is numbered, and then you find the appropriate description in the paragraphs, and there you go. So when actually mathematicians, when they talk about tying knots and talk about mathematical problems that relate to knots, a lot of the time they'll refer to Ashley, let's say Ashley 1383, and that will be in this book. So this is a very, very detailed, very comprehensive set of books, or a set of illustrations and knots and a good catalog. It doesn't just give you what the knot is and how to tie it, which how to tie it is usually over here. It tells you how it was used and what other knots are related to it, and separated into chapters that are representative of different kinds of occupations or types of knots. So there you go. So that's it. Here's a whole thing about splices. You can do splices not just between 3-strand ropes, but you can do crazy splices here if you have a needle and palm. You can splice cable. You can splice these crazy woven many-strand ropes here. There's a whole chapter on eye splices, and why, what sorts of splices they have. And, oh my God, it just never ends. And that's one of my favorite splices. that you can do is an eye splice in the middle of a rope. And I don't think I have one with me. But I want to sort of demonstrate the principle very quickly. If it's in here. Again, these crazy multi-thinged. Huh. I guess, oh, here it is. 2775. An eye splice in the bite. This knot or splice is to be found in the chapter on tricks and puzzles. It is slovenly in appearance and will injure the rope if used practically, but it is fun to do. Let me just demonstrate how this works. You can sort of see it looks like crap. He also has rope tricks that people do. So, imagine that you have two ends fastened to things and you want to tie an eye splice in the middle for some ungodly reason. It's about time to illustrate a trick that you can do with rope. If you untwist the rope like this and keep going, you'll get the... you'll start to form these crow's feet here. Keep untwisting it. Like this, and the crow's feet will expand. And basically, you form these three strands, and you just keep going until they're long enough, and then you go into the rope like this, and you can do a splice into the rope. But now you have a rope which loads on itself in the wrong place. It loads here at the joint, and it also adds, it's like 300% the diameter of the original rope, and it's terrible, and you should never do this, but it is fun to form these crow's feet and then do that and just twist it right back into shape. No harm, no foul. Just a little fascinating extra splice tip. And that's about all the energy I have for today. That's about where the original first episode of this video guide happened. Just remember this book. I'll be discussing it. There are plenty of varied things online and YouTube videos. I like YouTube videos because knots are in 3 dimensions. A book, an illustration is only going to be able to take you so far. There are knots which are tied in like 2-dimensional surface, but the descriptions of the more complex ones get very difficult to show, or very difficult to draw properly. So you have like these are knots, button knots. Like if you look at this, trying to make sense of how you tie that, or more, let's find some of those flat, like these. You just go mad trying to like work out how this knot is tied, for instance, if you see just an illustration of it. So seeing it in 3 dimensions is, I think, very, very useful, much more so than a book. So that's why I think YouTube is the way to go, or just videos in general. That's why I think that doing it yourself and getting that hands-on experience is so crucial. Right. That's all. Thank you for watching The Rope Grope, and I don't know when episode 2 is going to be or what it's going to cover, but I'll think of something. It'll probably be basic knots, basic useful knots, because I think that the Boy Scouts with their basic knots are sort of wrong, and no one cares about those. Some of them certainly are useful, but I don't think I'll be talking about those in episode 2. Stay tuned and watch me on, I guess YouTube is Space Cop and Twitter is Space Cop with a K. And see you next time.